coming off of Thanksgiving tournament where we went 1-1. I think we dropped a very winnable game against Arkansas, and had gone up 10, then went down 10, or went up 11, went down 10. Proud of my team for the resiliency of fighting back at the end of that game, and I think we put ourselves in a position to win, but obviously came up short. And then to be able to bounce back the next day, I thought we did some really good things against BC, and starting out 4-2, excited about not only the start, but kind of what's to come here as we take on NIU tomorrow at home. All right, let's open it up.
Coach, I guess to start off with, I know you have high expectations for your group, but the scoring balance that you've had so far, is that at all slightly been maybe a little surprising, at least at this stage of the season?
You mean that how we have so many people scoring double digits, averaging double digits?
Right, as opposed to, going into the year, people might look at the team and say Sarah's going to have to carry a larger load in that way, at least early, because you have so many new pieces.
Yeah.
And so far it hasn't kind of
materialized to that.
It hasn't been like that.
Yeah, I think honestly, I remember last year playing against some coaches, and I'm just saying we were really hard to prepare for because we had so many different kids averaging double digits. I think by the end of the year with 5 kids averaging double digits, and so to me the balance is actually what you would prefer if you are top heavy, or you've got 1 or 2 people that teams can key in on. I think that puts a lot of pressure on those 1 or 2 kids, but I think it also, doesn't allow you to really use the strength of your entire team. So I'm pleased with the fact that we've had different kids step up, really obviously excited for Sanaya and her showing. I think she's been playing some really good basketball. And I think, it helps to support Sarah so that she doesn't have to feel like she has to carry that load every night.
Seeing the team perform at that high level with Sarah kind of in foul trouble a couple of times this year, especially against BC, just how impressive was that in your mind, especially in a bounce back game like that, coming off a tight loss against an Arkansas game that was winnable?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really encouraging. I think, really proud of Lena coming in and giving us some huge minutes, really productive in her time on the court. I think Anna was very productive in her time on the court. And, I mean, we were playing a pretty small lineup at that point. Anna was our 5, and I think Nat was at the 4 for us. So I think we had to scramble a little bit, but again, it just shows, when your number is called, that the kids were ready to step into action, and knowing that if Sarah or Brooke, at one point both of them were on the bench with foul trouble, for us to go in, I think we were down 1 at the half, or 3, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we were down at the half, but not by a lot. For us to be able to keep that margin close with having 2 of our starters on the bench with foul trouble, I think speaks volumes to those other kids really taking advantage of their opportunities.
Going back to Sanaya, when you were recruiting her, I mean, it's a small sample size of her shooting over. She's shooting well from 3-point range right now. But was she that kind of player in high school, or is that something that she's really kind of developed, in the last year and a half or so since she's been here?
Yeah, she's really developed that 3-point accuracy. I think she was definitely more of a slasher, get to the rim when we were watching her and recruiting her, knowing that, she would hit the occasional 3, but I think she's worked a ton on her shooting. I was really proud of her to step up and knock in 2 big free throws. I did in the big BC game as well. That's something that she's also worked on, is her free throw shooting. And so, the clip in which both, the clip that she's shooting at in last season and this season, she was, whether she's coming off the bench or she's starting, she is providing a huge spark for us.
What could you just kind of expand on Lena and just kind of the impact that you've seen from her as a freshman stepping up, and really applauded her just kind of energy and positivity off the bench in your post-game comments against BC?
Yeah, like Lena is she's like a consummate teammate, I mean, she's never gotten down, if she's not gone off the bench for games. She's excited for her teammates' success. She's really the epitome of what I talk about when we're saying being a great teammate and showing up for one another. And so it's easy for the other kids to get excited for her when she comes in. And, I was really proud that she at times can be more hesitant and thinking pass first. And she was open. She took shots she's well within her range to take, knocking in threes. I think you saw some flashes of her athleticism and drives to the basket, making good decisions on 2-on-1s, things like that. But also just her reaction to, when the ball is going through the hoop. There's no better feeling for a player when you see the ball go through the net. And so I think that was really, really cool for her. And it was in critical moments, right? So that's another thing that I think gives you huge confidence, not only for herself, but for us to know, like, okay, when the game is, back and forth, we can rely on her to come in and do some really good things for us and give us a spark as well.
Speaking of freshmen, I guess I want to get your thoughts real quick on Anna and kind of what she's, brought to you. A lot of times sometimes you're one of your first people off the bench.
Yeah.
But what is she giving you that you like, that you feel comfortable bringing her into the games so early?
Yeah, for Anna, she's like, her basketball IQ is very high. And so, despite having at times a language barrier there still, she's still learning English even better. But basketball doesn't, it's kind of multilingual, right? It's, what you're trying to do, what we need you to do, if you're playing the 4, if you're playing the 5. So her versatility allows us to move her around a bit. I was really happy with her. She's been much more pass first in a lot of the games, and I think she was able to make some nice plays, knock in some layups, shoot confidently, take shots that she knew she could make, and then defensively she made some hustle plays and she was able to keep people in front of her. And so I think her experience having played overseas, I think allows her to have a different approach than maybe the typical freshman, just because of her experience, but also her understanding where she's supposed to be and what we need her to do both on the offensive and defensive ends.
You can go again, Mark, if you want.
And I mean, I guess you got these 2 games, and then conference play starts. So I guess I'm wondering in this next week or so, where you got these 2 final preseason tests before Iowa comes in. What are some of the things you're hoping to see? I mean, obviously you've seen some good things so far. What are some of the things you're hoping to accomplish, in these next 2 games that are going to make you really feel, good going into the conference season?
Yeah, I mean, I think one, really cleaning up our transition defense. I think that's something that we've harped on quite a bit as coaches, and just continuing to our kids understand, how we can get stops in transition, or at least try to force people into having to go into a secondary or set up a half-court offense. Rebounding, offensive rebounding is something that we have not done a great job of, and so continue to try to get second and third chance opportunities. And then I think it's just our raw offensive execution, right? Even if we can stop people, we've got to be able to score. We got to be able to put the ball in the basket. I think, hopefully being able to work, Lily and Hallie back into the rotations, some as we're coming up on these next games, I think will be really, 2 additional players who can put the ball in the hoop for us. And so I think it's also just kind of figuring out, okay, if we are, or when we are 14 strong, what does that combination of kids look like? What does that rotation look like? Because we haven't had that yet this season.
So Lily and see you get open.
I know. I know it's coming already, so I figured I would just serve it up to you on a platter.
So I mean, can we expect Hallie and Lily tomorrow, or what's kind of?
I wouldn't say tomorrow, but we're hopeful that we would be able to see them on Sunday.
Go ahead. You're good.
And I was gonna say, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but more directly, if you could kind of touch on what are you hoping those 2 can add? If you could kind of speak to Hallie and Lily potential?
Yeah, I think with Hallie, I mean, she was a glue player for us last year. Obviously, whenever you go through, a pretty invasive surgery like she had and the recovery, you got to kind of learn your new body, if you will. But the one thing, her being a senior, her understanding, she's got a beautiful shot, she can pass the ball, and she also picks things up really quickly. So excited to have that type of leadership, but also someone who does just a little bit of everything for you out on the court. That's we are obviously been documented very, very much how young we are, but to have another veteran player that can be on the floor, I think is always helps you. And I think the older kids will also, whether it's Nat or Brooke, you have a third person out there potentially who has played a lot of minutes. I think that's also encouraging. And then with Lily, I mean, in the summer and even leading into before she was injured, she was knocking in threes. She's a dynamic 3-point shooter. It gives us another weapon in transition. Driving kicks, being able to have somebody who really is a specialist. And so I'm excited to be able to have her on the floor because it just again gives us more space to drive, more space for Sarah in the paint. When you've got people who can make shots, it allows it puts pressure on the defense. They got to pick their poison, right? Are they going to shrink the floor and try to pack the paint, or are they going to spread out and not try to give you threes? And then that opens up other opportunities for her teammates.
To circle back to Lena a little bit,
yes.
She obviously logged double-digit minutes for the first time all season. Just what kind of stood out to kind of warrant that? Obviously, kind of picking your spots with just matchups with some people in foul trouble. But what stood out to kind of lead to that, and just how big can this performance kind of lead to her going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're playing well, we're not gonna pull you just because maybe somebody else has usually had those minutes. The basketball is momentum and game of runs and all of that. And Lena was doing some really good things. And we were zoning, and she's really long in the back of the zone, so she was able to cover a lot of ground, and she was able to go in and rebound and contest shots. And I think she was building confidence in real time out there. And each time she did something, something good. I don't know if that's proper English. She made another great play. She was able to, I think, fill up that tank of confidence for herself. And so I'm excited to see, her back at practice these next 2 days, obviously yesterday and now today, leading into the game tomorrow, and just staying hungry for another opportunity, and then knowing, okay, I just did this. I can do it again. And that's really what it comes down to, right? It's the consistency piece. That's really what earns you even more playing time.
A Hallie follow-up.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, how can you speak to, I assume at some point is she going through practice, is she doing 5-on-5 stuff with the team? What is she able to do now, and does she have any really restrictions in practice at this point?
No, she's joining us now 5-on-5, no restrictions at this point.
And roughly how long has she been cleared that way, approximately?
There's a progression that we've kind of undergone, and so she's in the final stage of that progression, and it's not like a exact you did it for this or this. So we're just kind of listening to her body as we've gone with the progression to make sure that she's prepared to be able to step in. What I can say is that she is very excited to be back with her teammates. She's having a great time being on the court, and I'm excited for her to have opportunity to put the jersey back on here soon and run out and get to play the game that she loves to play again.